What is that first one?
Component-based application.
Yeah. So on that side, let's component side. We have question like what is component? In component-based application, what is basically component? Especially with Angular, there might be a question called as what is that Angular component metadata that we use? What do you call it? Component? What is that @ thing called?
@ component.
And
The
what is-
decorator.
Decorator, yeah.
So what is component decorator, let's say, right? And similarly, you may get other directive decorator and host decorator, and there are many decorators, right? But if you just know what is component decorator, it is good to start with that, and then you will ask your own self or others. And then, is component itself is a directive? Is it true? Right? Right, and then what are the minimum metadata required in component decorator? So what are the minimum metadata that is needed? Okay, and next is, we already asked this question, what is component basically and what it does. What is component, what it does, and what it provides, that kind of thing basically. Why we will use that decorator, why that metadata is needed, right? And on the same line, it is more towards the decorator, but if you see what kind of encapsulation it is giving, and on the same spirit, you can learn a little bit more about decorator. Can you create your own decorator? So basically, learn decorator. Can we create our own decorator? Can you create your own decorator? And if yes, what could be the example, right? And why you will create that as a decorator rather than as a simple function? So unless you understand this, you cannot answer that kind of thing. So basically, what exactly is the component in Angular, and how it encapsulates the concept of the shadow root thing, right? In shadow root, what happens if you have a component? I'm just giving you one example. Like, let me erase this first. So you got it, right? Some high level. So in component-based application, I'm not still teaching. I'm just trying to give you some scenarios. In component-based application, it evolves from some problem again. So anything comes, it has some problem that it is solving. So problem is something like this. If you have a page and you have some component, let's say toolbar, where you have calculator, and then you have a other thing. For example, you have a paint. You open it and it opens the paint thing, right? And on top of that, you have application. So in this application, on top of that, you have another box, and in that box you have, let's say, account details, and you are showing some of the account data, and user can use this calculator and painting and all of that, right? If this is a requirement, and this calculator component that it is showing here, if this has a font or something, let's say it has a font here, something called as tool bar, and it has to be red color, and then the font has to be, let's say, Roboto, something like that. Font is Roboto and it is some different color. However, in this app, in this higher level div, let's say if it is a div, here I end up using a font which is, let's say, Calibri or something, and I change all of the paragraph has to be in the blue color. What will happen now? This is a problem I am explaining. What will happen now? So this component had paragraph, which is a roboto and red color, and this component, the parent component, it has a class which is applying all of its paragraph, whatever elements, to be blue color and with this font. The moment you will integrate this component, what will happen? Whether this will be still red?
No.
It will be overridden to with blue,
Blue.
right? Because CSS it works like that, right? And then whoever is developing this component, they both fight. Because this guy is in isolation. Whoever is working in this component, in his project, he just developed this component and he always sees this is in red color. And whenever he deploys to the production, in the production it breaks and QA always create a bug for him. And he will be pissed off always. He thinks that why she is creating bug for me. I don't know. Because this guy is not, let's say, not doing this integration test, it is just he's creating this component. So this happens normally when you sell your component. When you sell to production, you don't know how they are integrating. But you just created your reusable component and you are asking, hey, I created a cool component, use it. For example, jQuery UI you have used. In jQuery UI there is a calendar component, there is a pop-up and this and that and all of that, right? They will give you and you use like this, let's say, you will overwrite all jQuery UI. That is why what they say, in the style, you should always have at the last jQuery UI CSS, right? So that make sure that my jQuery UI CSS is the last thing that is loaded and it is kind of finally overriding everything, whoever was the beginning. Did you get that point? So did you see this as a problem? Right? Do you want this to happen or no?
No.
Mostly no. And how to solve this? What we do normally, what the smart developer will do, they'll say, hey, I know this, how to solve this. I just create iframe here. And in this iframe, I'll put this component. And what is iframe? Iframe is just like independent entity. It's a completely new word. So then this CSS is always independent. It cannot override. This is one good solution that you do. But then you end up writing a lot of iframes within your project. And then iframe is very difficult to communicate. Because now this is no more your own app. Initially, this component and this component can communicate by you are learning Angular, right? Component communication. So you can do input and output and all of that. And it is a part of the same Angular app. But if once you did iframe, it is no more the part of same Angular app. You cannot do input output. It's very difficult now. Now you have to create your own app here. It is called as a new Angular app. And then outer world is outer app. They are completely different entities. You are disconnected. And it is very difficult now if you have 30 components like this. There's no way that you can maintain the state. Because you don't know all of them are iframes. Then you have to start doing pops up with each iframe for each and every bit of change. Let's say here you click calculator, you have to publish, and then you receive subscriber, and then you do. For each value change, you have to pops up. So this is the problem. And that is what the answer is: component-based architecture, component-based programming. So what component-based programming says that once you have a component, it should have a strong isolation. It should have very strong isolation, and it is how strong? It is how strong means if there is a toolbar and if this happens to be a component, when I call component, it is a strong word that I use. Component means when I did component, that means whatever is internal to here, it is never overwritten by the outside world. It's completely isolated. All the HTML, all the CSS, fonts, everything is just like a one box, black box that nobody knows what's going on inside that. And then if you, rather than using regular JavaScript div, if you use Angular component or some other component, you put it here, it is all abstract, it's one thing. And then you do whatever outside, it doesn't matter.
So outside things will not be overridden.
They will not impact each other. That's the component-based application. Component-based application means you do not need to just do Angular. It's not Angular. It's more of like component. And component is a ECMAScript feature. It's not something like Angular created or somebody else created. It's like more of ECMAScript is slowly putting it. In Chrome already it came. Shadow DOM is a concept that they use shadow DOM. They call it like a shadow DOM, means this is independent DOM. Nobody can impact it. That's the concept to Chrome has, right? So, and in ECMAScript also this is a feature like component is coming soon, where it will create a shadow DOM for each component, and then you can create your own reusable component, like you can create your own slider. You pull this side, that kind of slider you can create. You can create your own calendar, Anusha calendar, let's say, or Spandana calendar, and then you have your own dates here, right? And this calendar, if you put, wherever you put, it looks red, it looks green, and something like that. So this capability